Hey guys and girls, welcome to this week's episode of the OBS with Birchy podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Birch, and this is the show unraveling the truth to the facade of the 21st century. We're now X in the Matrix and waking up to motherfucking reality. Today's episode, I always sit there and I think, okay, what can I talk about, right? And sometimes I have my team put together these topics. Sometimes we get the community to write in questions and ask us things. And sometimes I just go off the cuff and, make up something on the spot. And I was talking to someone in this room where we're filming today, and it's going to be fun, right? Because I was like, what should I talk about? Give me a topic to discuss today. And it was like umming and ahhing. And about 6 months ago, I had a chat with this person about buying some properties and stuff like that. And they were all excited. And I was like, why didn't you pull your finger out of your ass in 2025, right? And I thought, what a cool discussion to have, right? There's lots of people that have, you know, reached their goals. And, you know, I never hear people whinging. They say, oh, I, 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 I had a goal of getting to 5 properties and I got 8 this year. I can't believe it, right? So if you've bought properties, you've done something cool, right? Good on you, right? For me, it's never enough. I always want more. I always feel shit about, oh, I should have done harder, should have done this better, should have done that. It's easy. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, right? But I find more people reach out and say, oh, I had a goal of getting to 5 and I did 1 or I didn't do anything. And I just thought about it and I thought like that'd be a cool topic to discuss is like, did you reach your goals for this year, right? Did you have clarity on your goals? And today's episode is not the goal planning one. I will do a goal planning episode closer to Christmas. But today's episode is just like, if you didn't, reach your goals, why didn't you? What was stopping you from being able to reach them? And I asked this person, no names attached, right? Why didn't you, buy the property? And I actually, it was cool because this person was like, "Oh, grill me, roast me," right? Like on the podcast, and I was like, "I'm not going to," right? But I said the biggest thing that you learnt this year is that you get to watch all these podcasts. You get to see the comments on social media. You get to see what people are doing. You're seeing success stories of people kicking ass. You see the people in the comments going, "You can't buy more than one property. I can't even buy one," whinging, whatever, online. And you get to see the good and the bad. And this person um learned so much this year and is equipped with all the knowledge out there. I remember just saying about a deal. It was in Darwin. It was a 10-year-old unit or something in Darwin, going back at maybe 6 months ago, and it was like 290 grand, and we just revalued one for 420,000 in the complex, and it was just a conversation. I was like, "Do you remember I sent you one?" And I said you should buy it, and it's like, oh, yeah, I remember that. I was like, someone just revalued that same it could have been the same year. We bought a few in there, um, at 420. And I was like, that's 130 grand difference, right? And the learning and the exercise comes from going, hey, I wanted to know, like, what stopped you from doing that, right? Because there'll be a lot of people watching this going, yeah, I'm going to grab 2025, the streamers go off, the fireworks go off, and then, did you get to that goal, right? And if you didn't, what held you back? Is it a family drama? Is it an emergency? Is it you lost your job? Is it something went wrong? Can you change that? Maybe not. Maybe you can, right? Um, what can you do better next time? Um, I said, what scared you? And a couple of things was strata and units, right? This person's family is are investors, and I think the strata and the unit perspective was of a concern. And I asked, well, why is the strata an issue? And it's like, well, the strata seemed high, right? And I was like, well, the strata was high. I'm like looking out of the corner of my eye, giving me a little bit of a smile right now, right? But the strata, I think it was maybe like 7, 8 grand a year. Would that be correct in saying, yeah, you're closer to 10 grand in strata? Some poor bastard paid for this property like 450 grand a decade ago. So for me, it was nearly new. It was 10 years old, heaps of depreciation on the property. It was, 150 grand cheaper than what some poor bastard paid a decade ago for the thing. So I saw it was below rebuild cost and just had heaps of upside to it. But within saying that, the rent was probably about 520, 530 a week, something like that when we bought it. But the rent, yeah, the strata's high, But when you look at the cash flow overall, the rent is high as well. The block has a lot of good amenities to it. Sometimes there's things that need to be maintained in the block. 10 grand is on a bit of the higher side, but there is higher ones out there, and sometimes they do come down. I think this one was a little bit on the higher side from an insurance premium, which caused it to go up high for that year. But ultimately, the cash flow was still neutral to positive cash flow before any tax deductions, after all expenses. So it was a good deal, in my view. And then the second opinion that I was getting out of this person was, just the whole unit thing, right? Like, is it a unit that I should buy? Is it a house? And I see so many people, um, specifically when I'm speaking on a map session with someone, oh, units don't go up, I prefer a house. Or, I see it in the comments, like, oh, units, they don't do shit, right? Whatever. I've got an investor who I go, is a personal trainer. I go to the gym, Michael Pritchard from MPH. Do a bit of a shout out for him. He always jokes because he knows people that I know, and they say units don't go up and all that sort of stuff. And he's like, mate, like my whole portfolio is almost units, and they've all gone way outperformed everyone else's houses that I see, right? So it's like I look at the journey and the view of it. Ultimately, if I look back on my portfolio, and I'd say 30% of the properties that I own in my portfolio would be strata title properties. Maybe even 40% of them would be strata title properties, right? Units, townhouses, villas, whatever. I look at some of my properties that are houses, there might only be 10% houses, right? I've got blocks of units, I've got development sites, I've got land banking things, I've got shopping centers, I've got motels, got all different stuff. And some of the best growth that I've had in my portfolio has come from units. If I look at the Gold Coast, there's a little example on the Gold Coast. So I used to pick up houses for 500 grand, rent for $600 a week. Yeah, whatever. And I'd pick up units for 180 to 250 grand, and then rent for 300 to 450 bucks per week. The houses now have gone from 500 to 1.2. Cool, they've doubled, whatever. But the units have gone from, let's call it 200 to 700 grand, and the rent has gone from 350 to 550. So they're really strongly positive cash flow, where the houses have just turned from slightly negative to neutral cash flow. And the outgoings isn't, a big issue, right? Strata covers a lot of things that you wouldn't picture that your house you'd need to cover. For example, strata covers building insurance. You have a house, you have to pay for building insurance. So you don't want to pay 2-3 grand on a building, on a strata, but you got to go pay 2-3 grand on building insurance on a property as well. So be all relative. Sometimes people have opinions from outside factors, right? They have different people they listen to. It could be a partner, it could be a family member, it could be listening to 10 different podcasts, right? And one dude's talking about buying houses only, and one's talking about buying units, and someone's talking about subdividing, someone's talking about building, someone's talking about flipping properties, right? What strategy do you listen to, right? There's a lot of noise out there, and it can come from internally, it can come from fear, right? I remember buying my first property. My mum was so excited, right? She was like 60 and I was 18, right? Something like that. Maybe she was like 62 or something. And she was excited. I bought my second property. She was so excited. She couldn't stop telling people, right? I bought my third property. She was like, you're going to get into trouble. Bought my fourth and fifth property, and she was like, don't do it. You're stupid. You're going to go bankrupt, whatever, right? And that came from a place of fear and love for me, right? A different way of seeing it, right? So, yeah, you've got the people around you that influence you, that you love, you trust, you respect, and whatnot, but that can sometimes be a detriment. So I guess, I'm going through things that I've heard today, right? I'm going through my own personal experiences, sharing these things with you guys. But the part where I think we should go back to you watching this or listening to this is, if you didn't kick ass with your goals this year, or if you didn't get to where you wanted to be, why didn't you do that? Why? What held you back? What was it? Have you identified what it is? Have you gone and drawn it down and be like, this is it? Because sometimes it's a matter of tracing it back to the source point. You just go, I don't know, right? Cool. I don't know what I wanted, why I didn't do it. Let's go back to watching Love Island, right? Is that going to change your life? Fucking not, right? But you could sit there and go, well, this is the three things that I think I can identify that were holding me back from that. I know I should be heading over to there. What do I need to do to overcome that? Or how do I minimize the risk? Right. So I've got people around me which are in my life, in my business. I've had people on my podcast that I talk to, and you know, I'll just use Ridwan for example, right? I always tell him, right, you got an accountant that's very, very good character, right? And I'll be telling him, hey, what do you think about this? And he comes to me from a risk element, and I ask him, I share with him what I'm doing. If I go through my phone, he's probably like one of the top two, three people that I contact every day. And and I'll say to him, "What do you reckon about this? What do you reckon about that?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I like it, but I don't like this. I don't like that." And then 10 minutes later, I'll say, "Yeah, I just did it." Right? He's like, "What? I wouldn't have done that, man." I'm like, I factored what you said as a risk. I assessed it. I put it in there. And now I've made a decision based on all the information. And thanks for giving me that because it made me look at another element. But I see a lot of people that sit there and go to someone that they care, they love, they respect, and be like, "Don't do it because of this." And they go, "Okay, I better not do it." Right? So it's just I guess that takes me to the next part because I asked this person about like, what do you think was the thing holding you back? And I think the clarity, right? The clarity on what it was, right? It was like, oh, we're just buying a property. Do I buy a house to live in? Do I buy a place to rent out or whatever? But if you have a plan and you have a strategy, then you can have more clarity around going, okay, that's a decision that's going to help me, or that's a decision that's going to hold me back. And, I went into further questioning about, oh, well, what are you going to do? Oh, I couldn't make the decision where I'm going to buy the house to live in, or I'm going to buy the investment property. And I was like, okay, cool, just buy a house to live in. It's like, oh, we don't know if we're going to live here forever for another 5 years. It's true right in the corner, right? Going, yeah, he's calling what we discussed. And yeah, like that's cool, right? But if you've looked at it all, right, and you go, okay, we might be moving in 2 years' time. Is buying the place to live in today the right thing or not the right thing, right? Indecision can, get you stuck, right? If you're sitting on the side of the road and you're hesitating, you're sitting there, big truck can come and, give a car accident. So when you're making decisions. So if you got clarity on that strategy, like, okay, cool, we're not buying the principal place this year, we'll buy it next year. We'll use the investment property. We could buy 130 grand equity coming out from that property. We could go and buy, you know, 4 properties today, right? We could buy 2 today, come back in 3 months, pull out the equity, go buy the next 2, get to 4. If those 4 properties have got 100 grand each of them, 100 grand, 100 grand, 100 grand, 100 grand, there's 400 grand. There's a 20% deposit on a $2 million dream home that you can go and buy, right? But if you're only starting with 100 grand, right, how are you going to go and spend 100 grand to go buy the $2 million dream home? So it's what's that strategy? What does that plan look like? And how does it fit in with the overall big picture? If you don't have that clarity, you don't have the plan there, well, then it makes it a bit harder to, go, okay, that's the decision I need to be making today. And sometimes I hear, and this isn't the scenario, but I hear people say, oh, the wife, she's not on board or, whatever. And it's like, well, if you're in a relationship with someone, it's having two people that going, okay, well, how does it benefit both of our lives? How can we bring it all together to make sure we're on the same page and the goals are aligned so we're achieving? So we've both got clarity because one person might do all the research. And I see this also often, right? And you might be watching this or listening this in your car or going to work or whatever. And it could be the dude, it could be the chick. Um, There'd be one partner that's so obsessed with it, that really wants to do it, and the other one's like, "Oh, I don't want to hear about their little property fantasy thing that they're talking about or whatever." But the reason why one person is so involved is that they've taken that interest, and that's the research they're doing in their spare time. But the other one, they only come together to watch, I don't know, like the block or whatever together, right? They might watch some TV or talk about things in different circles, but they're not coming together on that common goal. So it's like if there's, I'm not giving relationship advice here, right? I'm not here to give relationship advice, but they come together on those important factors. And if you're wanting to bring that spouse along, make sure that they're aligned with the goal as well and involve them in even if they're not involved, oh, I don't want to hear about that. It's like, well, how would the portfolio benefit that person, and involving them. So, one thing that this person did say to me, is that their family members have invested in the property, and it's always interesting to see what they're doing. Um, you save your first deposit, save money up. When you go to pull the trigger, right? If you're going to buy a property this year and you haven't bought a property, this is for you watching a listing. It's like I've saved the money, but now I'm too scared, right? It's like I've worked so hard for this. I don't want to risk it. I don't want to have a problem. I don't want to lose it. It's hard to let it go because you've worked so hard to get it. Which I don't have an answer for that one. Actually, I don't have an answer, right? But I guess there are a few things to start us off with why someone hasn't done it this year. Um, I guess the other side of it is how can we plan for making it happen next year? And I'll get onto a video shortly or a podcast shortly about planning and goal setting and making 2026 your best year. But yeah, there's lots of reasons like people don't do things, right? Some are avoidable, some of them aren't. Right? Someone lost their job, had a family issue, health scare, whatever the case may be. Shit, I get it, right? But is there something that you can work on? Is there something you can improve? Is there something that's, it's a gap and it's missing? Because in my view, not everyone can be an investor, right? I don't want everyone being an investor in the country. I'd prefer to have more renters out there because then everyone's going to be wanting to rent my stock and my rents will go up and I'll become a better cash flow machine personally from having everyone as a renter. If you are wanting to be, an investor, there's certain traits, there's certain elements that you have to, learn and grow and improve the muscle with. I genuinely like have this thing where I think if you don't have 10, 20 properties in your portfolio, or aim to have 10 or 20 properties in your portfolio, like what are you doing with the next 40 years of your life, the next 30 years of your life, 20 years of your life, right? The purpose of the portfolio is to replace active income that you're bringing in from being stuck in a job, being trapped in the matrix for the next 30, 40 years of your life. What actions can you take to get out of that? Like for me, just think about it, right? You don't realize until you get older, right? I turned 40 this year and I'm like, shit, like that's halfway through life. If I live to 80, right? I expect to live to 100. People live to 70. I'm over half of my life is gone, right? And you start looking and going, hey, I'm not being a miserable fuck either, right? But you get to the pointy end and you're like, okay, cool. Am I making the right decisions? There's certain things. So it may not have hit someone yet, right? Like someone might be 60 listening to this and it may not hit and it's like, fuck, Birchy's talking to me and it's me that needs to listen to this, right? The way I look at it, the biggest risk that we have is that those 40 years of your most active, right? The first 20 years you write them off, learning how to be a good human and bloody learn ABCs and wipe your own ass. But the last 20 years of your life, you are, trying to survive, right? You get unhealthy, your body fails, whatever. The best 40 years of your life, you're trapped into having to go to work to earn an income. The biggest risk I see for people is that you're going to give away the best years of your life working just to get by. I think everyone should be working in a position to go, okay, if I have to sacrifice 10 years of that to then go and build my position up where I can enjoy the next 30 years of that life, plus the bit that comes after that or whatever, that's what I need to do, right? So where does that strategy start? And I think everyone should have 5, 10, 15, 20 properties to build that cash flow so you don't have to go to work. People talk about inflation, right? Well, inflation hits, the properties go up, the rents go up. The interest rates go up, well, the rents go up, right? There's always a risk, but there's always a cool upside to that. And I guess, what does it look like? What does financial freedom look like for you? What is the reason for why you're doing it? For me, it's changed over the years. It's more of a game today than what it was back in the early days. In the early days, it was survival. It was like, I don't want to have to sell 40 years of my life. And if you think about it, you get 50 weeks in a year. 50 weeks in a year times 20 years is 1,000 weeks, right? If you're lucky to live to 80, right? Healthy, well, good, congratulations, right? That's only 2,000 weeks you get, 2,000 weekends, right? Did you just waste your weekend? Did you just go and waste? If you wasted a year, there's 50 weeks, 50 weekends, right? So it seems like a lot. Just another week away, another weekend will go, whatever. All right, I've had some person that's annoying me. I'm going to keep putting up with it, whatever. Just live life how you want, right? And I think having the freedom, the choices, options to be able to do that is really cool. So I guess I've gone off topic a little bit there, but my point being is, everyone should be living the life they want. There's fear, there's uncertainty, there's challenges, there's issues. Someone might not have a deposit this year. Someone may have had to use their deposit for an emergency. How can you get the deposit, right? If 2025 hasn't been the year for you, hasn't been what you expected, write down the top 3 challenges, the top 3 reasons that you didn't get there this year, and make sure in 2026 they're not the same fucking reasons you didn't do it, and make sure they're the reasons why you did get to where you want to be in 2026. So if you need help, need a friend to chat to, the 1300-367-925 line rings Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Speak to one of the team members, and they'll probably talk to you after hours as well. You've got friends that you can just call and have chats and go, hey, what do you reckon about this, right? You've got experts that know how to structure portfolios, how to build wealth, how to help people in your position. So, reach out to us if you need help. If you just want to keep watching these podcasts, YouTube videos, whatever device you're watching it from, keep doing so. Share the love, smash up the like, and keep watching. Thanks a lot for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Like Bilal said, man, we're stuck in the matrix. This my advice, don't care if you take it. The dollar back to die, soon to be hyperinflated.